Hello, I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BIZTOOLS. Welcome to ESS BIZTOOLS Accountants Podcast. Today I want to talk to you about the accounting revolution. 3 weeks ago, in conjunction with the Academy of CPAs, Certified Predictive Accountants, we participated in a special webinar featuring American accountant Adam Hale from Summit CPA, who described the new processes that his firm had introduced that had started to spread quite significantly around America. In fact, the Managing Director of PlanGuru, a leading software producer of a product for budgets, cash flow forecasts, and projected balance sheets, described Adam Hale as the rock star of the American accounting industry. Andrew Geddes, the well-known Australian accounting industry expert, I refer to him as a guru, listened to the webinar and sent me an email shortly after it finished with one word on it: excellent. And I think that was a great summary of the type of information that we discussed in that webinar, with presentations by Adam Hale and the Managing Director of PlanGuru, Christian Weirlich. These people were explaining a whole new process for most accountants in public practice to adopt. They indicated that in America it is spreading quite significantly. Hale indicated that his firm has about 150 clients who are paying an average of $80,000 a year for a comprehensive service. Those fees, incidentally, range from around $40,000 through to $200,000 per client per annum. And the work provided for every client includes the financial forecast, which I'm going to refer to shortly. But then the client can elect whether they want Summit CPA to prepare their taxation work, their compliance work, and most of their clients elect that way. But the client can also elect whether they would like Summit CPA to attend to back office functions within their businesses. And about 1/3 of their clients, I'm told, elect to receive that bill paying, debtors processing tasks that all form part of back office. The important thing, though, is this heavy emphasis placed on financial forecasts. I recorded a podcast with Andrew Geddes 2 hours after this webinar finished. And Geddes described what he'd heard as it's a new business model. I think it's going to revolutionize the sector globally. Do you? Do you think this is going to occur in Australia? A lot of people do. And according to Christian Weirlich, the CEO of PlanGuru, he expects this really to roll out in Australia over the next 2 years. In fact, what started our interest in what was happening in the United States was a comment made to me about 2 months ago by Paul Barnaby, the Australasian representative of PlanGuru. But also Paul is a very well-known chartered accountant, and he was the senior partner of a second-tier firm in Auckland, New Zealand for many years. So a very experienced accountant. He has advocated predictive accounting as one of the key skills that we as a profession should be utilizing to provide real input to our clients, to guide them where they're headed for the last 20 years. So one day, 2 months ago, Paul said to me, PlanGuru is very busy in the United States selling software packages to accountants in public practice. I said, is that unusual? He said, well, it's gone up quite significantly to what it had been in previous years. I said, why? And he said, I don't know, but I'll find out. So he spoke to his colleagues in the United States, and they come back and said because firms are offering a wider range of services, they've adopted financial forecasting, and more firms are doing it. And from that, I asked if it was possible to get a leading American accountant who would be prepared to speak in a webinar to the Australian accounting industry so they could understand what's already started to occur in the United States. And I might add, some firms have already gone down this path in Australia. Some of them are our subscribers, and others have adopted it themselves. And we were very happy to have the enthusiastic response from Adam Hale that he was quite happy to participate in our webinar because he thinks this is very important, that accountants understand that the SME market are looking for more input, that every business, no matter how small it is, requires some advanced financial input, probably every week, but throughout the year, 52 weeks of the year. It's not a service that they're wanting to only get at the end of the year or 2 or 3 times during the year, and it's basically related to taxation, paying money to Canberra. There's a lot more to that in running a business, and we all know that. And we shouldn't assume that an SME is too small for our services as accountants. In fact, that is completely wrong. But I fear too many of us do it. I think we worry about what the fee might be. I don't think that's really an issue. We need to be upfront and say to clients, you need this service. In fact, I think every SME needs some accounting services throughout the year on a virtual CFO basis. They also need some marketing guidance throughout the year. And they probably need some social media guidance throughout the year. So I think what we should be discussing with clients as the key advisor, the trusted advisor, is that if you're going to go into business, you need to factor in that you need to be funding a virtual leadership team to supplement whoever the executives that you already have in your business. And we know that many SMEs have got no one else. They've got themselves and possibly their partner or their spouse. And that's about it. But running businesses on that basis is very difficult. And we have a very unfortunate failure rate in small business, don't we? And a lot of it's to do because people are not getting input, not only not from accountants, but not from lawyers, marketing consultants, salespeople, IT people, so that they can gather that information, which is exactly what happens in larger businesses. The CEO hasn't got all the brains in a public company. I know. I was involved as a company secretary and chief financial officer in a public company. And whilst our CEO was a very smart and capable man and worked very hard, he knew he didn't know everything and relied on other people to supply that expertise. He made the final decisions, of course, in a lot of issues. But unfortunately, many of our SME clients are trying to battle away on their own. Now, I can't influence what the marketing professions or sales professions or IT professions do in promoting their services to SMEs, but I can try to influence the way we as a profession, accountants, think. I think our professional bodies should be doing a lot more about this. But they don't seem to. I don't know if it's too much red tape or they're worried about commercial risks. I think we need to be more upfront and saying to people what the service is going to cost. I shudder when someone shows me a projection that accountants prepared for them. And they're going into small business and it shows accountancy fees $2,000. I said that might be a tax return cost. It's not advice throughout the year for accountants. And when they ask me how much should be there, I would say a minimum of $10,000 and probably more likely to be up around $20,000. And if they work out that they can't afford that, they probably shouldn't be going into business. And I think that's what you should be advising them. So coming back to the accounting revolution, and some of those comments are probably viewed as being a revolution in any case. What was Andrew Geddes so excited about? Andrew Geddes has been communicating with the Australian accounting industry for over 40 years. Firstly, from the University of New England in Armidale, New South Wales, where he, with then Dr. Jeff Meredith, now Professor Jeff Meredith, and a couple of other people were the founders of the Financial Management Research Centre, which for the first time provided a forum for these types of issues to be discussed. I spent many enjoyable conferences at Armidale over the years, and taxation was hardly mentioned. We were talking about the business issues that accountants can be involved in the businesses, and it's taken a long time. But here we are 40 years later, we're getting encouraged by an American accountant to really give this our best shot for our clients, for our SME clients, to help them really start working up the ladder of success. That will add value to their business. It will create interesting and challenging work for your accounting team. And the Commonwealth Bank's Accounting Market Pulse report towards the end of May indicated that the biggest challenge confronting accountants during this new financial year was the challenge of being able to attract and retain skilled people. Well, I think if you have your accounting firm concentrating on the production of financial forecasting and then a whole range of services built around a monthly cycle, not a quarterly, not a half yearly, and definitely not an annual cycle, but a month-by-month cycle, you will be supplying interesting and challenging work to your accounting team members. And as long as you are paying them the appropriate salary, and they might start moving up, the salary levels might start moving a bit too, of course, you should be able to attract and retain your team. So what's included in this whole process that Andrew Geddes claims will be revolutionary in accounting? Adam Hale was emphasizing that it all starts with the financial forecast. And he was including in that budgets, cash flow forecasts, and projected balance sheets 5 years hence. I've added to that and said, to do that, you need to have a business plan. You need to have sat down with your client and understand their vision. What gets them out of bed early of a morning to go to work? What encourages them to take the risk to employ people? What motivates them to develop new technology, new services, and spend countless hours in front of a computer screen or in their shed or somewhere else on their farm, experimenting, redoing things? And we all know, if you've worked with anyone that's undertaken this process, it can be very soul-destroying, very frustrating at times when your latest modification to your invention doesn't work. I've worked with clients trying to develop new cane harvesters, and whole ranges of other plant and equipment to be utilised in primary production. And I've seen the distress on their faces when they've worked 100 hours on developing a modification to a cutter blade on a cane harvester and put it through its field trials, and it didn't work. What do? Every one of them that I've worked with, and I've been through this process a few times, have started again. Said, oh, well, we'll be back again tomorrow. They've had a couple of beers and they might have uttered a few words that they shouldn't have uttered, but they saddle up again to get back onto the horse, in effect, the next day and start again. Now, they're the clients we're working with. They're putting their whole into that. And I think we as a profession need to be helping them on that journey, helping them to get the grants that are out there. But I find that many accountants seem to just ignore grants. There's a lot of money, billions of dollars offered every year around Australia. So this is one of the service, one of the revolutions. So let's get back though to what Hale was suggesting. Budgets, cash flow forecasts and projected balance sheets. I think you need to do a business plan as well. And what that might identify, of course, is that this business is going to need some funding from somewhere. So the next process may well be during preparing a loan application, or it could be that you evaluate their position and ask them where they're going to get the security from to offer to a bank or a lender, and they've got no security. Or they genuinely want to scale up and grow. So they're looking at capital raising from the public. And now, thankfully to the previous federal government, we have two great opportunities. If they're a very young business, under 3 years of age, in some instances up to 6 years of age, and they have invented something or undertaken research and development and have developed a new product, process or service, they might be eligible to be considered to be an early stage innovation company. Now there's a process, and I would urge you to understand it. And within ESS BIZTOOLS, we have a complete product package explaining how that process works. And one of the real benefits is there's a special carrot there for investors, because the government realised that many SMEs were having trouble raising capital. So they put some incentives in there. For a sophisticated investor, there's an incentive that can be up to $200,000, 20% of their investment. Now the government's obviously calculated that on $1 million, but they can contribute more than $1 million if they wish. But the upper limit of their tax offset is $200,000. For a retail investor, the maximum investment they can make into an ESIC is $50,000. So the maximum tax offset is $10,000. But the other very big carrot that's been put in front of potential investors is if they hold those shares that they're allocated as part of this process for more than 12 months and less than 10 years, they pay no capital gains tax when they sell those shares. So that's an interesting way to look at it for a young company. For a more established company, crowdsourced funding, equity raising, the ability to raise up to $5 million from any number of shareholders is a great advantage. Now, we started about 6 years behind New Zealand, UK, USA, Canada in the crowdsourced funding equity raising, but we're starting to get it to work properly now. And it's great to see that about 250 companies all over Australia have been able to utilise crowdsourced funding. And don't forget Section 708. It's been there for 40 years. And it's helped countless companies around Australia raise capital, normally up to $2 million from 20 investors. So then we move into the accounting processes. Now, I said at the beginning, this whole process advanced by Adam Hale is built around monthly. In his process, you can sign on for a weekly interaction with the accounting team, bi-monthly or monthly. They're the 3 opportunities you got, no more. And I think that's the way you should be selling this to your clients. And in that, you would be involved in weekly performance reports. How many of your clients do you talk to them about preparing weekly performance reports? I know that larger companies do it extensively. So they know each week an approximate, but a very accurate approximate estimate as to what their results were. It's a great way to run a business. We could have weekly key performance indicators and analyze them and see if something's gone wrong. At the end of the month, the monthly financial accounts prepared for each business unit. Not everything getting put into one profit and loss account, but broken down into individual units so that the person who is managing that unit gets their own P&L account. They get some reports back so they can really be involved in the accountability function. And all of this should culminate in a monthly business review meeting that many of you could facilitate. If your client doesn't feel comfortable in doing that, bring the leadership to team. Let's look at their reports and the financial performance reports and the key performance indicators and make changes in the budgets if they're necessary. This, ladies and gentlemen, I think is real accounting work. And this is why Andrew Geddes was so excited and he called it a revolution that is going to affect the accounting industry globally. You can find out more information by going to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au. If you want to know more, please keep listening to our podcasts each week. Next week, I have a keynote presenter joining me, and that's Mark Holton, a director of Smith Inc., the well-known accounting industry training organisation. It's now run by Mark, and David Smith. And Mark's going to talk to me about what lies ahead for accountants in 2022-23, and we're really going to look at this revolution built around financial forecasts as advocated by Adam Hale from the United States of America. If you have any questions or comments that you would like to make, please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au, and I will get back to you. And if you give me permission, I will use your thoughts in a future podcast on this issue, because I think it's very important that we really continue this conversation. Adam Hale, an American accountant, a young man of about 40 years of age, in my estimation, has really started this conversation in Australia. Andrew Geddes has lit a fire under it by saying this is going to revolutionise this sector globally. I look forward to working with you on trying to advance this concept for the benefit of SMEs all over Australia and accountants, both in a partnership position and an employed position, so that we as a profession are supplying interesting and challenging work to our team. And I believe that if that occurs in your firm, you will not have a problem in attracting and retaining skilled people. Stay safe. Have a great day. Goodbye.